Welcome, friends,
to the How-To Heretic.
I'm Uncle Mark.
And I'm Uncle Dan.
And I'm Uncle Doug.
And this is your user's guide to life on the outside.
That's right. Leaving religion is the first step into a larger, better world.
But it can also be a scary world. Things work differently now.
Never fear. That's why we're here.
We're your audio uncles. And with help from good friends and experts in all sorts of fields,
we're going to share the stories and seek the knowledge to build a great life.
After all, you only get one that we know of, so you better make the most of it.
Let's do a show. Well, fellow uncles.
Yes.
Uncle Dan.
You know, it's a week that we don't celebrate here in these United States, but we think about.
We don't celebrate it enough.
We remember it.
We remember.
We commemorate.
We never forget it.
It's the
We
Alamo.
never forget it.
It's the Alamo.
Yes. We have the first of what will be an almost infinite number of themed episodes.
Yeah, now that we've tried it once.
Yeah. Wait until Rosh Hashanah. It's going to be lit.
Off the hook.
But today we are celebrating the Holy Week of September 11th.
Yeah,
That's right.
here in these United States, you know, all over the world, stuff has happened.
Yes,
on the 11th of September.
Every country acknowledges the 11th of September in one way or another.
Well,
That's
yeah,
right.
I mean, you know, the Battle of Stirling Bridge,
Yes.
William Wallace.
Never forget.
We all remember that in 1297. Or, you know, Santiago, Chile was destroyed by indigenous warriors. I think we remember that.
And then a few years later, the Augusto Pinochet was on September 11th was overthrown. Was not overthrown. He overthrew Salvador Allende
With the help of with 3 American letters.
Yep, with one United States.
That's CIA. Boy,
Yeah.
that was useful. And what a great use of our resources that and turned out to be.
Yep.
You know, Alexander Hamilton was appointed to the Treasury.
The Treasury.
The Treasury.
Yeah.
So lots of things happened, but we're going to be talking about 2 specific things that happened. We're going to be talking. I think you, Uncle Mark, are going to take us through.
You know, I'm gonna the hijacker school essentially.
Yeah, the thing itself.
Yeah.
What is now called just September 11th.
Yes, exactly.
And then Uncle Doug will surprise us all with something that preceded
I'm going to do the OG 9/11.
the straight up. You didn't even know how badass. By badass I mean terrible.
Terrible.
Yeah.
The 11th of September. Could
Next
be.
time you see a couple of Mormon missionaries or your Mitt Romney on television, remember there's more to the story than you think.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
So let's make it happen.
Let's dive in. Well, fellow uncles, here we are. It's as we discussed, the 9/11 is the time of year when we all gather.
Such a happy holy day.
Yes, indeed. And we, you know, Uncle Doug, I don't have a lot of understanding of what led up to what we now call the 9/11 thing. Like the big 9/11 thing, of course, is the toppling
9/11,
of
yep.
some buildings
Yeah.
by some people who were mad.
Yeah.
And Uncle Mark is apparently going to tell us why they're so mad.
Yeah. Well, there is, you know, as we are now in the American Holy Week of September 11th, a week when what we naively thought was the stupidest president ever ignored months of flashing red lights, and he went to Texas to clear brush. Then 3,000 people were murdered in their offices. Then we invaded the wrong country and killed 1 million people in addition to thousands of ours. And by some witchcraft, we ended up with Rudy Giuliani on TV every minute of every day forever. So happy holidays.
This is the darkest timeline.
So the events that kicked off what would be an ongoing war of both bombs and armies and, yes, religions, but also a realization for a lot of Americans that there was a whole lot of shit out there in the world that they hadn't much bothered to think about prior to that day. I think it's safe to say Islam is one of those subjects. But as I mentioned...
I ain't got to think about no Islam. Them Muslims are trying to ruin America.
Them Muslims, like Barack Obama...
Yeah, right?
Barack Hussein Obama.
Wait,
Proof. You proved it.
I did. I've got the birth certificate. But it's not Islam as a whole we're looking at today. It's one intensely burning canker sore of Islam. So And this intensely burning canker sore is something called Wahhabism. It is the
Well, how about that?
how about that? Wahhabism is or Salafism is a particular branch of Islam that I will explain to you in short order, but it's it's not the nice one. So in the year 632, the Prophet Muhammad died. So that was super sad.
Yeah.
And you know how super rich people like Michael Jackson and Prince and apparently Aretha Franklin bafflingly died without a will?
Uh-huh.
So too did our friend Muhammad.
Oh, yeah.
God's last true prophet on earth prophesied many things, but before he flew up to heaven on a winged horse, he somehow forgot to prophesy who should take over his very expansionist enterprise.
He whispered it to that one guy.
Yeah, to my mind, this is a major fuck-up. Such a blazing oversight very much calls into question Muhammad's ability to get business cards with prophet printed on them without seeming a fraud. But that's just me. I think there should be a standardized rule for both prophets and business cards. I'm kind of a stickler. You know me, I'm all about the rules.
You are.
So like Prince's heirs fighting over his gazillions, the power players in Islam started to angle for leadership positions. One group believed that a blood relative of the prophet should take over, so they put forward his cousin and son-in-law, same guy, Ali. These people would become the branch of Islam we call the Shia, who make up at most 20% of the Islamic world. The second group put forward a trusted lieutenant of the prophet, Abu Bakr, that autocorrect kept trying to say was Abu Baker.
Right. Did he sell buckets of food?
Racist autocorrect.
Totally racist. Thinking a man so close to the prophet would best know his mind. These people would go on to become the Sunni Muslims, who today make up the vast majority of the 1.8 billion Muslims in the world. And it was their choice, Abu Bakr, who became the heir to the prophet. He eventually died. The two caliphs that followed him were assassinated, and then Ali, the original Shia choice, became the fourth caliph. After his death, the shit really got crazy between the sects. Well, we hope that Aretha Franklin's heirs aren't waging bloody sectarian war over her gold records 1,400 years from now. This is exactly what's going on with our Muslim friends, even today. So if you take nothing else from this segment, go to LegalZoom and spend 30 minutes writing a fucking will.
Even what's amazing about this is that they're still fighting about this shit, even though both guys got to be in charge.
Yeah, that's fucked up, right?
Like, you both won. Right. Everybody won.
You're all pretty.
Right, exactly.
Well, you got to fight about something.
Yeah, I guess so.
So, go to LegalZoom, make a fucking will.
Yeah.
The world doesn't need your shitty kids blowing each other up all over the fucking place.
LegalZoom.com, please sponsor the show.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, they have to get in line behind wonderbible.net. .ru.
I think it's just actually Wonder Bible P.O. Box 416. They don't know about the internet.
It's Wonder Bible, Klondike 7332. So this whole bloody mess is not helped by a hadith. And if you remember when we talked about the hadiths a while back, that is one of thousands of, at best, 10th-hand sayings attributed to the prophet, where Muhammad apparently...
We could write a hadith right now.
I just did it.
Yeah.
Muhammad apparently said, "My ummah," which means the Muslim community, "will be fragmented into 73 sects, and all of them will be in hellfire except one," which he very helpfully failed to name.
Which is the one that you're in, but not the other guys.
So that's helpful.
Thanks, Muhammad.
So leaving the Shia aside for this discussion...
Why isn't that a meme? Thanks, Muhammad.
Thanks, Muhammad.
Hashtag thanks, Muhammad.
And a truck blows up. So leaving the Shia aside for a second, let's follow the Sunni line back to where it all started. The Gilead on the Gulf, a sunny, sandy land that does not put the fun in fundamentalism, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The area that would, in 1932, become the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia was the birthplace and home of the Prophet Muhammad, as well as the founding place of Islam and the keeper of its holiest sites, Mecca and Medina. Even Shia, who aren't very happy about it, recognize the nation of Saudi Arabia and its ruling family, the House of Saud, are the keepers and protectors of these holy relics. Obviously, it is to Saudi Arabia that all Muslims who are able to make the sacred pilgrimage of the Hajj once in their lives, regardless of which of the major or minor sects of Islam to which they belong, must go. With a couple exceptions, all stripes of Islam are very religiously conservative by any measure, but Wahhabism or Salafism is probably the opus dei of Islam. So, what is this? Where did this come from? It's a wonderful story. In the mid-1700s, out of the broad, empty expanse of the Arabian desert, remember, all bad ideas come out of the desert, appeared
We're in a desert. Shh. No, move on.
a hyper-conservative cleric, Muhammad ibn Abd al-Wahhab.
You made that up.
It's just all consonants. There's like two vowels and 30 words.
That was actually my rap name for a long time.
So he found the tribal Arabian Islam of the 18th century far too modern, and he was anxious to take it over 1,000 years backwards to its roots. He was pissed off about such shirk, meaning idolatry, as visiting and venerating the various and sundry saints and heroes of Islam. So he was really pissed off that you would go on like the Saints' Day to a buddy of Muhammad and put flowers on his thing. To him, that was polytheism. So his radicalism caught on in the sparsely populated desert. A local leader, looking to keep control of any emergent threats under his watch, made a deal with al-Wahhab. He would allow his new brand of Islam to grow and spread under his eye in exchange for al-Wahhab's loyalty to his rule and that of his successors. In that moment, a crucial alliance was formed. That leader's name was Muhammad bin Saud. And he is the progenitor of the ruling family of modern Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
In what was to prove a long series of strokes of luck for both the House of Saud and Wahhabism, the collapse of the Ottoman Empire after World War I left a power vacuum that they were able to fill. The original Saud's great-great-great-grandson, Abdul Aziz ibn Saud, led a military campaign that eventually took the holy cities and established control over the whole region. Right after that, oil was discovered in another massive stroke of luck, and soon billions were pouring into the coffers of the formerly backcountry hick rulers and their obedient clerics. It's worth noting that it's estimated that in addition to the deaths and injury from battle, there were an estimated 40,000 public executions and 350,000 amputations committed by the Saudis and the Wahhabis during this period as they established control.
Holy shit.
That's you know what? Effective. That's what I'm going to say.
Well, apparently.
It works. You cut off a hand or two and see what happens.
Yeah, if executing 30,000 people hasn't taught them a lesson,
what will?
Execute 10 more.
Right, yeah. Keep going. You haven't gone far enough yet.
Saudi Arabia is nothing but a massive hand and head omelet. So that over 250-year-old agreement between the Sauds and the Wahhabis maintains to this day, and Wahhabism is the official Sunni Islam of the kingdom. The severe puritanical sect has granted waivers to haram, or forbidden symbols of modernity, like television, telephones, other media, dealings with non-Muslims in exchange for a near-total level of control over every aspect of life, most especially those unlucky enough not to be part of the royal caste, so just 99% of Saudi society.
Or those, who are women, or those...
Totally, foreigners. So they run the gender-separated schools at all levels, the horrendous Sharia judicial system. They control all aspects of religious life, and most famously brutally enforce a 7th century morality code on the plebes, of course, never the royals.
Right.
So the relationship between church and state in Saudi Arabia is beyond symbiotic. They're so grotesquely corrupting of each other that it's more like a co-parasitic relationship. It's two tapeworms endlessly feeding off each other.
Like an Ouroboros, really.
But yeah, like Ouroboros, and both sucking the life out of a horrendously oppressed population. So traditionally, Wahhabis considered any Muslim that is not Wahhabi not a Muslim. So that gave them a nice workaround for the command not to kill other Muslims, because only they were Muslims. So they did a ton of that.
That's a loophole you can fly a plane through.
No true Saudi would ever.
Right. No true Muslim. So they've moderated in recent years because, of course, the money they love comes from selling the thing they have to foreign people.
Right.
Oil to the Americans, most specifically. So anyway, moving on toward that awful September date. There is a very conservative group of Muslims in Egypt called the Muslim Brotherhood. Many of them fled Egypt in 1954 when President Nasser introduced a form of secular nationalism that was kind of sweeping the Arab world at the time, and they were part of they were a Soviet client state that resisted the role of Islam in public and political life. So a lot of these Muslim Brotherhood guys ended up in Saudi Arabia. The commingling of the radical religious puritanism of the Wahhabis and the anti-colonialist, social justice, direct action-oriented Islam of the Muslim Brotherhood began to marinate in a potent political ideology where the idea of jihad was revived, like violent jihad, was revived as a method of spreading and defending Islam. So
That's fancy. It's nice when it's a good way. It's a good soup they've got boiling.
Such strange bedfellows.
Yeah.
So from the 30s onward, the kingdom had been seriously wealthy with oil money. But during the 1973 global oil crisis, its wealth exploded. They were making as much money every 3 days as they had in their best year prior to that. Zillions of dollars. So with the tidal wave of cash came massively enhanced regional and global influence. And in Saudi Arabia, as fares the kingdom, so fare the Wahhabis. It became the most well-funded branch of Islam overnight, with all the trappings of a modern nation to back it up. So these deep pockets and network of political influence would thrust jihadist Wahhabism, that's hard to say those two words, into modern international geopolitics for the first time in 1979 when the USSR invaded Afghanistan. Egypt and Saudi clerics declared it a personal responsibility of every Muslim to repel the atheist Soviet invaders. So 35,000 volunteers answered the call, half or more were Saudi. But smaller revisionist Islamic groups from all over the world were so impressed and seduced by the Wahhabis because of their hardcore dedication to the religion, their apparent fearlessness in battle, and, of course, their very deep pockets.
Well, and also, who can resist that allure, that alluring fragrance of of total xenophobia?
Exactly.
It is intoxicating.
And never mind that the Wahhabis, the Wahhabi soldiers probably didn't really consider these guys Muslims, but they were useful anyway.
Yeah. Right.
So the Saudis and the other Gulf monarchies contributed about $600 million a year to the 10-year fight. Weirdly, in hindsight, for younger listeners, the U.S. also contributed massive amounts of money, CIA training, and material to the Saudi resistors. Thus were the weird bedfellows of the Cold War.
Not to take a tangent, but have you guys recently watched Rambo 3?
No tangent at all. Please move on.
It takes place in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
He fights alongside the Mujahideen.
Yeah.
And at the end, there's this, the film is dedicated to the brave Islamic Mujahideen soldiers who fought the Soviets.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like, ooh, that didn't hold up well.
Well, you could never, if you had a time machine.
Right.
So a huge number of battle-hardened, including John Rambo, fiercely religious Islamic fundamentalists returned home, flushed with the sense that God had granted them victory over a far superior technological superpower. One of them, a current resident of the bottom of the Indian Ocean, was Osama bin Laden.
Yes.
This particular Wahhabi had the added benefit of being from a highly connected, almost infinitely wealthy Saudi family. One short year after the end of the Afghan war, another old friend, Saddam Hussein, invaded his tiny southern neighbor Kuwait in order to seize its massive oil reserves.
That was a cute moment.
That was great. Wasn't that great?
I remember that.
That's when,
Expression will not stand, man.
that's when most of us knew there was a thing called Kuwait.
Right. We all learned that. And a wealthy thing at that.
So the Saudis were pretty certain that their secular nemesis Saddam was coming for their oil next, so they begged their most voracious client, the United States, to come defend them. As I mentioned, the Wahhabis were never happy about dealing with infidel outsiders, so allowing a totally non-Muslim foreign power to occupy the holy country was a major scandal. Made worse by the fact that officially Wahhabism is as captive of the state as the state is of them, so the major clerics were compelled to declare it permissible for the infidel troops to set up camp in the country.
You're talking about U.S. troops.
U.S. troops.
Right.
This infuriated the rank-and-file Wahhabis, many of whom, as you know, had plenty of combat experience and the hearts of victorious jihadis. They loved American oil money and training, but they never loved the Americans.
No, why would they?
So we're such nice people. Look at us.
No.
Look at us. We're so kind. So the power of the official clerics, always in question because of their being in bed with what was viewed by believers as a corrupt state, was seriously compromised by this perceived atrocity.
Yeah.
Hatred of the American presence was profoundly animating to the most conservative forces in the kingdom. So I don't think I have to prove that I'm not an apologist, or any of us are an apologist, maybe Dan is, for American military and economic imperialism. It's like,
I mean,
Dan?
I like to apologize for things.
but you like oil.
But I love me my oil.
It's got barrels of oil. Like so many other colonial powers, we actively planted seeds of our future troubles in the mad dash for resources, power, and influence. People all over the world have fully legitimate reasons to be super fucking mad about our history and ongoing belligerent behavior. 9/11 was, I believe, this is my personal opinion, was an act of war. It was an attack by obviously dedicated irregular fighters against what they believed to be legitimate enemy targets. I'm not happy about it. It was a horror of historically unprecedented proportions, but searching for the roots and reasons of a horror is critical to trying to prevent them from happening again and again. Silence from my partners.
I'm just trying to think, like, the ways that we prevent these things from happening, I think, are A, making sure that you keep these people mad at you, which is what we've been doing
And keep
ever
them poor and
since.
oppressed.
Right. Yeah. And then trying to make sure that we attack their livelihoods and their I think fomenting ill feeling is the main thing.
And I think stomping about in regions of the world where we refuse to learn the language and culture is super helpful.
And it's always helpful to attack the wrong country.
Well, I think that's just a natural.
Just prove your point if you got to kill 1 million people in the wrong country. So I think a lot of paths led those 19 hijackers to those 4 planes that morning. Unquestionably, a reaction to American presence in their sphere was one of them. Muslim apologists and well-meaning Westerners with coexist bumper stickers try to claim it was economic hardship that drove them to do what they did, and that Islam says it's a religion of peace, therefore it obviously is. Never mind that many of the hijackers had educations that would have granted them access to the Saudi middle class. Granted, that probably still sucks to be in Saudi Arabia in middle class. But
it could be nice.
What they all had in common was a radical, muscular, combative form of Islam.
Yeah.
They'd grown up with since birth. Like Christianity, like Buddhism, like Hinduism, not every adherent to a religion is violent or would ever dream of being. But like all of those, Islam is plagued with flawed and widely interpretable stories and myths that give permission to the darkest forces that any community of 1.8 billion people is statistically likely to have by the boatload.
Yeah.
And Wahhabism is the sharp end of the spear when it comes to weaponizing Islamic ideology. So, before we get a flood of emails saying it's an oversimplification to name Wahhabi Islam as a cause of the 9/11 attacks.
Wait a minute. You're saying that what we cover in 15 minutes, somebody might accuse of being an oversimplification? How dare you people?
You're telling me somebody's listening to this?
I think there are. I hope I don't dox them, but I think we have listeners in Saudi Arabia. So,
good.
Yeah,
that sounds like the worst idea in the world.
Good luck, you guys.
Leave.
Keep the volume really low, please.
Yeah.
So
don't play it at work.
So before people say, "Oh my God, it's economics," it wasn't. Let's play a little thought experiment.
Okay.
What if the 19 hijackers were Mormons? What if they were all Jehovah's Witnesses? It would be nothing short of insane to not demand to know what specifically about Mormonism caused this horror, or what about the JWs drove them to this violence.
Yeah.
And you can argue, well, that sect of Islam is all that exists in their country of origin, and their massive geopolitical forces at work as well. Use the same experiment, but say they were hijacked by Tibetan Buddhists or Indian Hindus. Would you say, oh gosh, that's a random group of people, wonder what was behind that? Or would you go, what the fuck is up with Tibetan Buddhism?
Yeah.
Right.
Or what the fuck is up with Hinduism? So I don't know what it is about Islam that makes everybody run in circles to try to exempt it from the same reasonable line of questioning.
Right. They don't want to get blowed up.
They don't want to get
No, to recognize something as bald-faced fact is not to be a bigot or to indict someone's character or et cetera, et cetera. This is what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. What happened?
Yeah. What happened? So, the Wahhabism still exists. It's the official state religion of Saudi Arabia, whether you fucking like it or not if you're a Saudi. And
you better fucking like it.
Here's a little statistic to help you understand how eagerly the second biggest export from Saudi Arabia is Wahhabism. First, obviously, is oil. But they have spent as much as $100 billion exporting the ideology globally over the last 30 years. To put that in perspective, the Soviet Union spent just $7 billion over 7 years in an aggressive attempt to export communism.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Is there a third export from Saudi Arabia?
No, there is not. Misery and human heads. So anyway, one of the things that they fund to this day is a little thing called ISIS. So thank you, Wahhabism. And as we talked about many times on the show, it's bizarre how weird the role of luck and being in the right place at the right strange time you can't imagine is the right place at the right time. That a fever dream out of some crazy head in a village in the middle of the Arabian desert can blow up into an international security crisis in the year 2018. So there you go.
There you go. Wahhabis, it's good for everybody.
Yeah, enjoy, everyone.
right.
Happy 9/11.
Thanks, Uncle Mark. Let's move on.
Uncle Dan, pennies continue to rain from heaven.
Yeah, that is a thing that happens.
Not enough, but some.
As both you uncles know, the way that these shows end up continuing to go is that good people who listen to these shows decide that it's worth giving a little bit of their money.
And we've become accustomed to a certain lifestyle.
Which is poverty.
Yes.
But both of you are, and I too, are donors to other shows.
Correct. Absolutely. We support the content, the work that goes into shows that we love. We absolutely, and I wouldn't say that I'm the John D. Rockefeller of supporting podcasts, but I try.
Yeah, and I always say, if you like NRA TV, you got to pay for NRA TV.
We all pay for NRA TV.
I feel like, yeah. Okay, with that very strange comparison going forward, let's thank some people, shall we? So we did have some people this week join up with our campaign on Patreon, and we owe them thanks. So this week's thanks to Marco, Warwick, Navy Dave, Anthony, and BT. All of these people, well, Anthony and Teresa, actually.
How kind.
So all these people, what they've done is they've probably gone to howtoheretic.com and then clicked on the Patreon button. That takes them to our Patreon page, and that's where you can sign up. If you sign up at certain levels, there are bennies.
Yes.
Certain benefits. We if you want a saint or a heaven from us, you gotta pony up. But
boy, we'll make it worth your while.
Yeah. We give at whatever level you like. Whatever level is comfortable for you, and we appreciate all of it.
And Navy Dave, first of all, thank you for your service. But two, if you are on a battleship or a submarine, would it kill you to send pics of the shower room? I don't understand why you're being so stingy.
And the codes.
Okay, we're gonna have to. So Uncle Mark is gonna go to an HR meeting now. And
it's just down the hall. It's just down the hall.
And the rest of us are going to. Should we move on to the rest of the show?
Let's move on. Well, dearest Uncle Dan.
Yeah.
Continuing on the theme of all of the good things that have happened in this world. It's hard to imagine, certainly in North America, it's hard to imagine a more beautiful day of the year than the 11th of September.
Early in September.
Early mid-September.
Yeah.
It's cool enough, but it's still beautiful.
Still lovely. Maybe some leaves have started to change up in the hills.
Mm-hmm. The wheat is ready for...
The heat has broken.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful.
The peaches are out.
Yeah. It's hard to imagine a better day. So we're here to ruin it for you.
To ruin it. I mean, if the Wahhabis can't do it, we got somebody who can.
Uncle Doug, I believe, is going to tell us about the OG September 11th in these here United States. Even though they weren't the United States at the time, long story short,
That's
Uncle
true.
Doug, tell us the good news.
Take it away.
I want to talk about another fun event that happened on 9/11 and happened many years before what we have come to know as 9/11.
Okay.
And it is the Mountain Meadows Massacre.
What a fancy name
For all the fanboys out there.
Yeah. This is our own homegrown Mormon shit.
It is. I've actually been looking forward to this, which sounds terrible.
Who wouldn't? Everyone loves a good
And
massacre.
let me just say, I'm sorry we've done two heavy-duty Mormon bloody shit things in a row, but it just happened that way.
Yeah.
And because this is the anniversary, and I know you want to have all of your Mountain Meadows Massacre decorations and traditional cuisine up, you can play this while you're decorating the house with
your Mountain
bones.
Meadows Advent calendar.
Your fake Indian
slurs,
paraphernalia, and your various and sundry covered wagons.
and
So
big fat John D. Lee.
a lot of every ex-Mormon has a pretty deep understanding of the Mountain Meadows Massacre, and for those of you out there listening to this,
I'm glad you said ex-Mormon because so many
Oh yeah,
current Mormons have no idea
little
about
to no
this.
idea about this.
Yeah.
And we'll definitely talk about that. But for all of you out there who are, big fans of this event, so to speak, you'll understand that there are, I had to condense a lot of this history and leave out a lot of this stuff because otherwise it would be a 4-part episode.
Wait, you're not just going to read that really thick book to us?
Yeah, right, exactly. So, if there are things I've left out or things I've had to kind of brush over, please understand it's for time and not for lack of understanding. However, if there's anything that I get wrong in this segment, I definitely don't want to hear from you. So, most of what we'll talk about comes from Will Bagley's seminal work, The Blood of the Prophets, which is a really great book. I honestly recommend it, even though we're going to talk a lot about what happens. It is so detailed and interesting. And that book itself stands on the shoulders of Juanita Brooks' 1950 work, The Mountain Meadows Massacre.
Right.
But so much forensic work has been done and so much documentation has come out since that you really have to read Will Bagley's book. And I recommend it. So, all right. Here we go.
Launch it.
Okay.
Let's light this rocket.
I'm so excited.
The Mountain Meadows Massacre was the culmination of a 5-day siege by southern Utah Mormons against a wagon train from Arkansas heading to California, in which around 120 men, women, and children were gunned down and hacked to death in cold blood. It was a pivotal moment in the settling of the West and remains one of the biggest blemishes on the Mormon Church to this day.
And that's the Mountain Meadows Max.
Thanks for sharing,
We're
guys.
done.
All right, guys, goodbye.
Moving on. So there's a lot of history we got to cover, and we'll do it as quickly as possible. But you really do have to set the background for this event because the background really informs what happened so much. Because this was also one of the most tragic in the wrong place at the wrong time moments in American history.
Right.
So we'll go back to kind of start the narrative in 1838 with what was called the Mormon War at the time, which was a series of skirmishes that took place between Mormon settlers and Missouri natives over kind of how Mormons ran their operation at the time. They just were not very good at getting along with their neighbors. So
They were bad neighbors.
they were they would flood into counties. They would run the ballot. They would take over county seats. They were hard to get along with. Not excusing any violence that took place against them, but they were not the easiest neighbors.
Joseph Smith would take out massive loans.
Yep.
And then never pay them back and fuck over the banks.
I mean, it was basically Wild Wild Country.
Totally.
Part 1,
totally.
where this flood of one of a weird sect of Christianity would just take over like an entire county, and they'd vote as a block, and they'd just sort of ruin everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the Mormon War culminated in October 27th, 1838, when Governor Lilburn Boggs issued Executive Order 44, subsequently known as the Extermination Order, which read in part, quote, "The Mormons must be treated as enemies and must be exterminated or driven from the state if necessary for the public peace. Their outrages are beyond all description."
No, we shit on the Mormons a lot, but fuck that.
But damn.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's some hardcore shit right there. And
That's cold.
Yeah.
not very nice.
No, and not and one thing leads to another. 3 days later, the Hans Mill massacre occurred, where a Missouri militia attacked a Mormon settlement and killed 17 people. So it became very clear that Missouri was no place for Mormons. They fled across the Mississippi River to Nauvoo, Illinois.
That's on the license plates, isn't it? Missouri, no place for Mormons.
So this will come into play later in the story. The next kind of important thing that happened again in Missouri was Joseph Smith's death. As the church was constructed at that time, it was never going to get along with its neighbors. It just couldn't. And so the last die was cast in June of 1844 when Joseph Smith and his brother Hiram were killed by a mob, consisting, at least in part, of ex-Mormons who were fed up with his incompetence, corruption, and perversions.
Yes.
So
By that, Doug means fucking their daughters.
yes, exactly.
Just so to be clear.
It's a story for another day, but one of the people in that room at the time was John Taylor, who was shot 5 times but survived and became the 3rd president of the church when Brigham Young died. And he was
the most badass. Let's just put it out there that like you get shot 5 times and you live to tell the tale.
Yeah.
That's some hardcore shit.
Yeah,
right
I mean,
there.
you should
Most
die
definitely.
not just from lead poisoning.
Right, exactly. So, again, there's no love lost between the state of Missouri and the Mormon church at the time. The next piece in the puzzle we need to talk about is a guy named Parley P. Pratt.
Triple P.
Parley Parker Pratt. He joined the church in September of 1830, which was, months after its formation.
Yeah.
He became one of the staunchest and influential members of the church. He was one of the most successul missionaries they ever had.
Top of the pyramid scheme.
Yeah.
His downline was amazing.
He is sometimes referred to as the Apostle Paul of Mormonism. So
That's nice.
Yeah, the statue that is dedicated to him, or I guess his statue, I should say,
Over in the foothill area.
It's like 100 yards from my house.
Yeah.
And it's the statue of this svelte, handsome man looking off into the distance.
Where is that?
It's right on the corner of 23rd East and Parley's Way.
Oh.
Yeah, and he's
got his own canyon. That's right next to the canyon that they named after him.
And he was not a svelte man.
He was not. He was a portly man, which again is not a problem, but it apparently was for the statue makers.
Well, statuary is the art of flattery, Doug. Just remember that when I die.
The statue of Uncle Mark. Well, that'll be a problem because you're of the three of us, you're the visual artist. So the statue that we come up with will not be good.
But unfortunately, he will be the first to die.
Yes, of course.
Just make sure that you put it in the Albertsons parking lot next to Parley P. Pratt, which is where it is.
Oh, that's right. I know where that is.
Yeah,
I got you.
All right, so Parley P. Pratt met an already married woman in San Francisco named Eleanor McLean in 1853 or 54. He baptized her and made her his 4th or 12th plural wife, depending on the account. This did not sit well with Hector McLean, who was a Scottish immigrant and already married to Eleanor.
Oh, God.
A Scottish immigrant, so therefore notorious boozer and wife beater.
Yeah.
These are my people.
Yeah.
So Parley went on another mission to the East Coast in 1856. And that's where Hector eventually found him and stabbed and shot him to death in Van Buren, Arkansas.
Oh.
Okay, this is 1856. We've jumped a little bit ahead in time. The death of Parley P. Pratt was almost as calamitous an event for the Mormon Church in Utah as the death of Hiram and Joseph was in 1844. It was a big deal. And this, again, happened in Arkansas. This will come into play.
And for the simple crime of just marrying another guy's wife.
Exactly.
Why is everybody so hard on the Mormons?
Right?
They're
just stealing your wives and all your shit and your land and burning everything. Come on.
Get over it.
And in the same piece of time that Parley P. Pratt was killed, so it's 1856, 1857, the Second Mormon War or the Utah War occurred. And so although the Mormons had intended to set up their own theocracy in Utah, they had left the United States into what was Mexico and set up the state of Deseret.
And then Mexico, and then the United States came to them.
Well, 2 years later, gold was discovered in California. So that dream of, westward expansion was given a shot of cocaine.
Right.
So there was no way they were going to stay out of the U.S. And so they began this tense relationship with the United States, trying to negotiate their entry into the United States as a state.
Back into the U.S. after they had purposefully fled it.
Correct.
Right.
To set up a theocratic kingdom.
So when Democrat Patrick Buchanan was campaigning against the brand new Republican Party in 1856, the country was on the brink of civil war, and the Mormon question was a major issue in the campaign.
Yeah, the Mormon question was how it was referred to.
Exactly.
This was like...
Yeah, the two big problems were the South and the Mormons.
Right. America's two... What do you call it? The twin something of barbarism.
A plank in the Republican Party platform was to, quote, prohibit in the territories those twin relics of barbarism, polygamy and slavery.
Yeah.
So Buchanan wanted to take that issue off the table, so he campaigned on taking a hard line on the Mormons. And when he was inaugurated in May of 1857, tensions between the Mormons and the federal government reached a crisis point.
He was going to build a wall. Build a wall. Beautiful.
You sound like the Godfather.
Yeah. Don Corleone, Trump.
Several federal appointees left the territory of Deseret at the time because they were fearing for their own safety. Brigham Young was threatening martial law. So at that point, Buchanan dispatched an expedition of U.S. troops to Utah to bring the Mormons to heel. It took them several months to get here, but the fact that they were coming kind of drove the Mormons into a hysteria. Settlements were abandoned, outposts were burned lest they fall into the hands of the federal troops.
Did a scorched earth thing.
Yeah. And Salt Lake City entered kind of a siege mentality. So, the lay of the land in Utah at the time was a population of religious fanatics in near open rebellion against the federal government, spun up into a frenzy because of the impending invasion, and full of hate for anyone specifically from Arkansas or Missouri.
Right.
although they did not know
This
it.
should go well.
Yeah, right.
There's nothing. I can't see any problem here.
This was the most dangerous place and dangerous time on earth for the Baker-Fancher party to enter. So let's talk about the Baker-Fancher party. This group of pioneers left Arkansas in April of 1857 for the overland trek to California. The two primary families in the group were the Baker party, led by Captain John Twitty Baker, and the Fancher party, led by a seasoned expeditioner named Alexander Fancher. Several smaller groups joined the party, including somewhat, no one is exactly sure of this, a couple smaller parties from Missouri. That may or may not have been true, but the rumor of it would turn out to be very bad.
Important.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was one of the wealthiest trains to ever make the crossing. The group had over 1,000 head of cattle, tons of horses.
Oh, wow.
Their wagons were top of the line. They brought tons of currency and possessions with them. It was basically one very wealthy group of people in the East moving to join their other very wealthy group of people in the West.
You'd think that if they had that much money, they would just fly. But
Yeah, right.
Come on.
Why didn't they?
Pony up. So they arrived in Salt Lake City on August 3rd or 4th of 1857. And as with all previous expeditions making this overland trek, the plan was to resupply in Salt Lake City. That was what everyone did.
Right.
You brought enough to get you to Salt Lake City. You bartered for your supplies, and then you did the last really, really difficult part through the Mojave Desert.
And Salt Lake City was, it was great for that. It was
perfect.
set up for it. They had
It was an established city with all the things.
Well, and
it was like the only established city for blah, 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 blah.
and it was
the last
nearly
ones,
the only
200
source
miles
of income for the Mormons at the time.
Right.
I mean, this was
and they needed it.
They needed it. But
These wagon trains were like the best thing that happened here.
Exactly. However, the origins of this wagon train preceded them, and no one in Salt Lake City would barter with them.
Yeah.
And they got here, and they had no idea what they were walking into. They got here, and nobody would talk to them.
Why
nobody
would they
barter with them.
suspect anything other than we'll just do what everybody's been doing?
Exactly. So, I mean, they not only would barter for parts for the wagons and food and provisions, they bartered for new clothes. I mean, their clothes would be rotting off of them by this
boots
point.
and everything.
Yeah.
I love the idea that this was the one time in history when everybody was like, when there was a whole group of people who were like, fuck Arkansas people. Anyone from Arkansas, I just hate them.
Yeah.
Well, it's also probably the only recorded time in the history of Mormondom that they refused a buck.
Yeah.
That they decided, no, let's not make money off this.
That's the real tragedy.
Yeah.
So after several days of confused desperation, the Baker-Fancher party left Salt Lake and headed south. Their plan...
So they were unprovisioned. They were just fucked.
They were in a bad way.
Yeah.
Because there's no going back at this point, right?
Right.
Little did they know they wouldn't need that much.
Exactly. Right?
They saved a lot of money.
Yeah, sure.
That's what I'm saying.
That
They
is
saved a lot
one
of
way to
money.
look at it.
Yeah.
Every silver lining has a cloud. So their plan was to head down to southern Utah to a place called the Mountain Meadows, very close to a town called Cedar City. This was a well-known place. It was like the last stop. It was this verdant mountain valley. There was water. There was
Tons
plenty
of
of
water
grass. There
and
was
grazing.
game.
Yeah.
And all parties stopped there and kind of, fattened up their calves one last time. But for the Fancher party, this was like their last. They had to get everything they needed there.
Right.
So they headed down there. Now, after leaving Salt Lake City, the Baker-Fancher party found themselves in a profoundly hostile region. They were harassed by Mormons all the way down. They would find no help from the Indian tribes along the way because almost all the Indian tribes were allied with the Mormons. So they didn't want to trade with them.
How messed up is it that your trek across the West, you're looking for help from the Indians to save you from the Mormons?
Yeah.
Totally.
Go back to Arkansas.
Yeah,
Yeah, at
doubt.
that point,
Yep.
something's gone really wrong.
So it was during this journey that a series of what would turn out to be fatal rumors began to swirl around the party. The Mormons along the route claimed that the immigrants bragged loudly that some of them were present at the death of Parley P. Pratt, and the widow even claimed that she recognized some of them. Now, that's utter bullshit.
Utter bullshit. These
'Cause
people
she was in Salt Lake City when he was killed.
And also, these people probably had no fucking clue who Parley P. Pratt was.
No, not at all.
Right.
They have no idea what's going on.
Right. They don't know the politics they've walked in.
Right. Another rumor that swirled around them was that some of them were from Missouri and were present at the assassination of Joseph and Hiram Smith.
Of course.
Bullshit.
Bullshit.
And again, some in the group were the Missouri Wildcats, which was the militia responsible for the Hans Mill massacre.
Bullshit.
This is such craziness because that means what this means
All the bad guys got together.
is that one rumor, it's like the world's worst game of operator.
Sure.
Where somebody had to get on a horse and ride fast to the next county,
Right.
and say, "Hey, guess who's coming?"
Did you hear?
And then somebody else got on a horse, and by the time it got all the way down to Cedar City, it was like Satan himself has gathered up all of the minions of hell, and they're all coming in wagons.
A true precursor of social media.
And again, classic of the Mormon mindset. All they had to do was think this thought all the way to the end, and of course they refused to do it.
Of course.
If these people had done that, if the people in the wagon train had been involved in these murder of a prophet,
Yeah.
and they knew the significance of passing through a
Right.
non-American territory completely controlled by a lawless, theocratic, but secret police force.
Right.
Oh, yeah, let's go through there.
Yeah. Makes all the sense in the world.
Well, exactly. And finally, there was another persistent rumor that the Baker Fancher Party was poisoning wells and dead livestock along the way.
Right.
And
Classic.
Some
Classic.
Indians even got sick and died from the poisoned meat and fouled water.
Classic.
Now, I mean, it's laughable. These guys were traveling in this totally, dangerous territory. They were under-provisioned and wildly outnumbered. So what do? You pick a fight.
Right. Yeah,
Come on.
exactly.
All right, so the rumors started to swirl, and it got up to kind of a boiling point in Cedar City. And again, the settlers had no idea any of this was happening. So in
Because
Cedar
nobody would talk to them.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
In Cedar City, the Mormons began to discuss what to do with the troublesome immigrants. Chief among this group of people were John D. Lee, Major John H. Higbee, Isaac C. Haight, and Bishop Philip Klingensmith. And there were a lot of people that were involved in this, but these are four kind of the most
Two of those
noteworthy
names
guys.
were mentioned in our blood atonement segment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you go ahead and spell hate however you want to.
Yeah.
It's H-A-I-G-H-T, and I believe it's pronounced hate.
Yeah, I think
Because
so,
we have
too.
local hate still.
Yeah, there's a lot,
of local
of hate in Utah.
All right, so John D. Lee, particularly, was the adopted son of Brigham Young. He had 17 wives and over 60 children. The name Lee in Utah is still enormous.
Oh, yeah.
He would end up being the only person held accountable for the massacre, mostly because of the testimony of Philip Klingensmith, who turned state's evidence much later. So, and then another factor in this is they had just been visited by Apostle George A. Smith, who was the first cousin of Joseph, and one of the most strident and anti-federal Mormons of the time. He had been on a tour visiting all of the southern Utah settlements, inspecting their preparations for war, and giving these shockingly seditious sermons. So many think it was his implicit or explicit. And did I mention he was an apostle?
Yes.
I did. Okay. Many think it was his implicit or explicit instructions that led directly to the massacre. And just to show how cold-blooded he was, on August 25th, when he was on his way back up to Salt Lake, he camped right next to the Baker Fancher party whose fate he had sealed.
Yeah.
So,
That's fun. That's cute when
So,
you do that.
Mormon passive aggressiveness.
By early September, the Mormons in Cedar City had decided they were going to wipe out the Baker Fancher party and began preparing to do so and to make sure they could blame it on the Indians, which will be a big theme going forward.
Again, to reiterate something you said earlier,
Yeah.
Indians and Mormons had sort of allied themselves all along this corridor. Like,
After the Mormons killed a whole bunch of them, the Indians found it in their best interest to not be killed anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the Soviet Union and Finland. They kind of didn't
everybody
have much of a
had,
choice.
and there was commerce happening and stuff. So it was useful for them to be more allied than not.
Right.
So Lee's adopted son was of the local Paiute tribe, and by all accounts, Lee had a strong relationship with the local Indians. He reached out to a local Paiute tribe and offered them some spoils if they helped in this attack. Now, the southern Utah Paiutes were, amongst the most poverty-stricken Indians of the time. Imagine that. They were wretchedly poor, and the westward expansion was crushing them. And they were beguiled by the riches. They wanted the cattle. So they said, all right, we're in. We'll help you attack this party if we get to keep some portion of the spoils.
Right.
So just on a side note, we got to talk a little bit about Brigham Young's role in all of this. Brigham
Young, the then president of the church.
Then president of the church and
prophet.
governor of the territory of Utah.
Founder of Salt Lake City.
Yes. So there may be a kernel of truth or two in this, but it's surely kind of some bold revisionist history. But there's a story that Brigham Young actually tried to stop the massacre. When the Cedar City Mormons decided to kill the Arkansans, some people were hesitant, so a messenger was dispatched to ride up to Salt Lake City and get the prophet's counsel. Unfortunately, the person was dispatched on September 6th, the day before the siege began, didn't arrive in Salt Lake City until September 11th, the day before the massacre. So it's kind of a moot point.
Right.
The likeliest scenario is that Brigham Young knew of or approved of the action but wanted deniability.
Right.
He sent a message with the writer that said, quote, again, arriving days too late to stop the massacre, but quote, in regard to immigration, trains passing through our settlements, we must not interfere with them until they are first notified to keep away. You must not meddle with them. The Indians, we expect, will do as they please, but you should try and preserve good feelings with them. There are no trains going south that I know of. If those who are there will leave, let them go in peace. I mean,
whatever.
a little too cute, right?
A little too a little after the facty.
Exactly. So the story, there's like some other embellishments on the story.
Did it actually? By the way, did the message that he sent actually? Was he the guy supposed to wink during the thing? Was there wink written in the note?
There's further embellishments on the anecdote where Brigham Young told the writer heading back to Cedar City, quote, to start and not to spare horse flesh, but go down there just as quick as possible. And I want you to ride for dear life, ride day and night. Then Brigham Young went back into his office with a troubled face and bowed head.
Oh,
bullshit.
Where's that quote from?
That's
something.
Yeah.
It's from something.
Brigham Young never felt more alive than when he thought someone was dying.
So
right, that's true.
It was his valet who was standing outside the Lion House who saw that conversation take place, apparently. Yeah. And then he reported that. And it was all trying to make Brigham Young look like oh my God, please, this can't happen. Bullshit.
Brigham Young's valet, who is the same guy that Trump used to pretend to call all those people.
Yeah, John Barron.
Right.
Okay, so early on the morning of September 7th, the Baker Fancher party began cooking breakfast when a volley of shots rang out. The first person hit was probably a little girl, and it's unclear if she died right then or later in the siege or if she died in the final massacre.
A little girl in the wagon train.
Yeah, in the wagon train. Yeah. And they had set their wagons up in a semi-defensive posture because that's good habit.
Yes.
But they expected, obviously, nothing to happen. So, but something the Mormons did not know was that, and it'll be very clear very soon, but there were several veterans and experienced expeditioners in the Baker Fancher party. Alexander Fancher had made 2 previous trips to California and back, and several of the people in the party had been in their local militias in Arkansas. So they had some skills. So the first full frontal assault, led mostly by the Paiute allies and Mormons dressed as Indians, was repelled effectively by the Baker Fancher party, and surprisingly. 10 to 15 of the Baker Fancher party were hit, and 7 of them died right then. 3 would die in a few days, but they still managed to push back the Mormon attack. So the immigrants immediately set to building a defensive perimeter. They managed to circle their wagons. They dug up earth under the wagons to kind of block that view.
Yeah.
They chained the wheels together. So almost right away, it was a debacle for the Mormons. They thought they were going to charge right through, kill them all, take everything, and be done with it. But that was not the case. The hard part for the immigrants, though, was that the nearest water was about 100 yards away. And they couldn't do anything about that. So the Paiutes were meant to be the tip of the spear, incur the casualties, and make it easy for the Mormons to do this. But the bungled surprise attack led to the death of at least 1 Paiute and the injuring of several more.
You got to spend your Lamanites wisely.
Exactly.
Right?
So the alliance pretty much broke apart at that point, and any further participation by the Indians is dubious at best.
Well, it couldn't have helped that, like, the Mormons say, hey, help us with this assault, and then we'll split it with you. And then, on the day of when everybody's supposed to show up for the fight, all of the Mormons show up dressed as Indians.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, at what point does that...
It'd be hilarious if the Indians showed up dressed as Mormons.
But yeah, I mean, that's not inspiring confidence as in your ally.
And the guys dressed as Indians are like, okay, go.
Go. You guys go first. We're right behind you.
Yeah, right. Go.
Oh, so like I said, the Indians pretty much abandoned this effort at that point. And every account after the fact, the Mormons have always tried to blame this on the Indians, but their participation was dubious.
Yeah.
From that point on, it was pandemonium. The Mormons tried to assault the Arkansans several more times, every time being repelled.
Point of order, can we call them Arkansawers, please?
Sure.
I just love
And
that.
Arcanite was we did.
Arcanite is another one, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I can call them whatever you want. Every attack was repelled. The Mormons settled into a basic siege where all they could do is snipe at the wagon train and just kind of wait for something to happen. The situation... by this time, the Arkansans surely realized that there were white people amongst the group of Indians that were attacking them. By one account, they actually saw John D. Lee riding on a ridge, sent up a white flag, and were trying to call out to him. So they knew that white people knew what was going on.
Right.
And the fact that nobody showed up to help them, they pretty much knew what was going on at this point.
Right.
Their situation was getting really desperate. They were out of water, low on ammunition. Their wounded were dying and putrefying. Ugh. The fortification was surrounded by livestock that had been knocked down in the crossfires. I mean, it was a nightmare. And they knew no one was coming to help them. So at the same time, John D. Lee realized there was no way they were going to overrun these guys, that they needed to use some kind of subterfuge or,
So they send in a couple of missionaries.
more or less.
Hi.
So who wants to convert?
I love your little circled wagon thing. This is for neat.
On Thursday, September 10th, able-bodied, loyal Mormons were pulled from all the settlements, primarily Cedar City, to come aid in what was going to be the massacre on the next day. John D. Lee, under a flag of truce, rode out to the wagon fort to negotiate terms of surrender. He told them that the local Mormon militia...
John D. Lee was going to surrender to him?
you win!
Oh, I fucked this up. You were supposed to... Oh.
Damn it.
He told them the local Mormon militia had arrived, and they would rescue them from their Indian attackers. However, they had to surrender their arms and march out under the Mormon protection to Cedar City, or else the Indians would overrun them.
Okay, so let me make sure I have this gambit right. He says, don't worry, we'll save you from these Indians who have been attacking you.
Right.
All you have to do is give us all of your guns and everything.
Yes.
And then and
march out single file.
A monstrous act of treachery.
Yeah, and the Arkansasers weren't stupid. They knew that this was a big gamble.
Yeah.
But they had no choice.
Yeah, what else are you going to do?
They were nearly out of ammunition. It was a bad situation.
It's an incredible betrayal, from a man of God.
Yeah, give us all of your. You have to give us all of your rifles. You have to put your pants down around your ankles and walk like penguins.
Exactly. Yeah. So Lee broke them into 3 groups. The first were the wounded and smallest children that he put on 2 wagons. Then all the women and children marched together. And then finally all the remaining men, marched out in a single file line. And as they did, a Mormon would come out and get one armed Mormon would come out right next to each man. So after they walked about a half a mile...
God, they must
you
have
can't
known what
feel
was
safer
coming.
than that.
Right, exactly.
Having an armed guy on every guy, that's how to feel safe.
This seems normal.
This seems fine.
And the guy just complained about his wife and kids the whole time. You don't know what it's like. I got 6 wives. You're lucky.
You only got 1.
They walked about a half a mile, and that's when Major John Higbee shot his pistol in the air and said, either halt, do your duty, or halt, do your duty to Israel. And the Mormons turned and shot all of the men point blank in the head. What happened?
Ta-da!
Yay! What happened next is not. We won't ever know. The only accounts we have are from the Mormons, who had every incentive to lie, or by people who were under 6 at the time. The only thing we know for sure is that everyone over 6 was killed in the Mountain Meadows. Here's the likely scenario: is that more Mormons dressed as Indians leapt from the bushes and attacked the women and children, who ran for their lives. John D. Lee and Samuel McMurdy killed the wounded on the wagons.
Oh, my God.
Later forensics, mostly from a really unfortunate incident that happened in 1999, when a backhoe that was building a monument to the massacre unearthed a giant mass grave.
Yeah.
And modern forensics had access to a huge, set of remains for the first time, determined that most of the people were shot from very close range shots to the head or were bludgeoned to death, blunt force trauma.
Wow. That's a little whoopsie-doo.
Yeah.
When you're building your monument.
I remember that. And the Mormons, the official church, was trying to contain this story and build the monument.
Yeah.
They literally, it's shocking that they were even building the monument, because this was hush shit.
Yeah, they have denied
for so long.
For over 100 years.
Yeah, so they went and fucked themselves there. It's weird they have a habit of doing that. But proceed, Governor.
Well, so the Mormons shot most of the men in the head and then set about beating the women and children to death with the butts of their rifles.
Oh, come on.
Because we needed to make it worse.
Yeah. There are accounts that some disillusioned Mormons joined the group before the siege to go to California. When the massacre began, these individuals had to have their throats cut so they could blood atone for their betrayal.
Our old friend Blood Atonement.
Yeah.
So much fun.
There are persistent but unsubstantiated rumors of rape on the day of the massacre, but even the Mormons who confessed to some of the killings later on still denied this. However, in order to believe them, you would have to believe that this is the first and only massacre that didn't involve rape in world history.
Although, frankly, you don't need the rape.
No, you don't.
They did.
Do you ever need the rape?
I'm just saying, like, we say that to make it because
oh my
it's
God,
worse.
it's going to make it worse.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
It doesn't make anything any worse.
I was going to just.
I mean, it makes it worse.
I was going to let him off on the bashing in children's heads with rifle butts. But okay, I'm going to draw the line.
All right, now you've done it. The bodies were stripped of their clothes to add to the myth that it was an Indian massacre, and the bodies were left to rot and be ravaged by wild animals for months.
Wow.
17 children.
They just left them there.
They if they buried them, it would look like it was
Christians.
Yeah.
Oh.
So,
Good Christian man.
17 children under 6 were spared in an act of weird mercy and were adopted out to several families across southern Utah.
In an act of cruelty.
Yeah, exactly. The livestock was
and a year later, we're married to in their 70s.
the livestock was sold off. Any valuables were plundered. There is a legend that 3 men managed to sneak out of the siege to find help. 2 were tracked down and killed fairly quickly, but 1 may have made it the 150 miles to Las Vegas, which was a Mormon settlement at the time, only to be shot dead in the street.
Oh, fuck off! Really?
Yeah, there's a rumors and legend that.
Oh,
happened.
good, I made it. Yeah. You guys,
You'll never believe
guess what happened.
That's like the story of that guy who survived Hiroshima and went home to Nagasaki. True story.
Yeah.
So, okay, word of the massacre spread with astonishing speed for the time. Other immigrant parties arrived in the mountain meadows not long after to find human limbs scattered all over the place, chunks of human hair in the sagebrush, and wild animals feasting on the remains. The first investigation into the Mountain Meadows massacre was conducted by Brigham
Young.
Yep.
Yeah.
Who determined it was an Indian massacre and the Mormons were only involved trying to save the survivors from the savage, bloodthirsty Indians.
His allies.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
The Mormon War delayed any federal investigation until 1859 when the Carleton investigation arrived at Mountain Meadows. The bleached bones were still all over the place. The men gathered up as many bones as they could find and erected the first monument to the massacre. It was a cairn of rocks with a white cross on top of it. That was the first effort to bury them. It was nearly 2 years later. Most of the children were retrieved in that 1859 investigation, returned to their families in Arkansas. Eventually, all 17 would be rescued.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently, the feds were none too happy about this.
No.
Yeah.
Inscribed on the cross.
Because, the Mormons made no effort to return these kids to their families.
They made every effort to hide them.
You are now Mormons.
You're one of us.
You belong to us.
And all of many of these children, even though they were 6, 5, 4, 3 years old, have vivid memories of this event.
Right.
As you'd expect.
Well, yeah.
No, they adopted him. It's like, here's your fucking churn, Sally.
Yeah.
Get to churning. You're a Mormon now.
Go card some wool. You're one of us now.
Inscribed on the cross were the words, "Vengeance is mine, thus saith the Lord, I shall repay." That little meager monument was later destroyed and the bones rescattered in 1861.
What?
Possibly by Brigham Young himself as he toured the area.
Wait. They dug up the bones
and
then
rescattered them.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that happened.
Yeah.
And scratched below the words on the cross were the further words, "Vengeance is mine, and I have taken a little."
Yeah, I think it's as I read, it was fairly well established that Brigham Young had that scratched in the cross.
He was down there. He was down there.
Wow.
The Carleton investigation, as well as every subsequent investigation, acknowledged at least Mormon participation, if not full responsibility. Brigham Young was actually briefly arrested by a Mormon territorial probate judge, and it was most likely Well, it was most likely he was never taken into custody.
It was
probably a farce just to show that he was.
Well, they thought federal charges were coming, so they thought, well, we better put him under arrest in the territory to prevent that from happening or have first custody of him. Then no federal charges were forthcoming, so he was cleared.
Wow.
The Civil War, no one was luckier than the Mormons that the Civil War broke out. The Civil War delayed.
There were a lot of people that were lucky. Let's not.
It was. It was a boon for so many.
Let me amend that statement.
The cannonball business. Huzzah!
The Civil War delayed any further investigations until 1871. Pardon me, when Bishop Philip Klingensmith, who by then had left the church, signed an affidavit and turned state's evidence.
Oh, I didn't know he left.
interesting.
The massacre became a national obsession at that point. Several warrants were issued for people involved. Most of them went into hiding. However, in 1874, John D. Lee was caught and arrested. By then, he had been excommunicated by his adopted father, and it was pretty clear that he was being served up as a scapegoat. There were 2 trials in 1875. One had a hung jury in 1877. He was convicted for the massacre, and the sentence was carried out in the Mountain Meadows. And as Uncle Mark described in episode 50, Lee sat on the edge of his coffin and was shot and fell into it. His last words were apparently, "I do not believe everything that is now being taught and practiced by Brigham Young. I do not care who hears it. It is my last word. I am being sacrificed in a cowardly and dastardly manner."
Wow.
You could have worse last words.
Yeah.
Here's a little nugget. On April 20th, 1961, the Mormon Church posthumously reinstated Lee's membership in the church.
Why?
Fuck if I know.
That
I
is
mean, honestly.
Nutballs.
So the church denied any involvement in the massacre for years. Then over time, they had to admit, yeah, there were some Mormons there, but they weren't doing what we were telling them to do. They did everything in their power to deny involvement and bury the details. But eventually, they had to take some responsibility. And in a beautiful attempt at leapfrogging responsibility, they paid for the 1999 monument to be built,
Right.
at which President Gordon B. Hinckley said, "Let the book of the past be closed. Let peace come into our hearts. Let friendship and love be extended. May the peace of heaven be felt over this hallowed ground."
Yeah, I remember that moment. I remember.
I feel like we could close the book safely on that. Because once you put up a monument,
Yeah,
well, you're done,
Let's
right?
not bicker about who killed who.
right. It's like the current prophet of the church coming out and saying, "Hey, non-Mormons, you can't use that word anymore because I say so."
Exactly.
It's kind of like, let the book of history be closed because I said so. No takesies, backsies.
Right.
No more historians. Thing. The end.
So there it is.
There it is.
Mountain Meadows Massacre.
And also on September 11th, and I think before the Civil War, it was the largest massacre. Right? It
Yeah.
was the largest single killing of Americans
Yeah.
of some kind. I can't remember.
In peacetime.
Yeah, outside of war, it was the largest single killing of Americans before September 11th, 2001.
It was before, God, what was it?
Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma City.
That's
That's
it.
right.
Interesting.
Anyway, a lot of dead people. Religion, all good, guys.
Yeah. Nothing bad. I mean, we know Mormons.
Yes.
We were Mormons.
Yes.
A mild-mannered people.
They are now.
I don't know where you're going with this, but I was not there. I can tell you exactly where I was.
You're the oldest. You're the oldest of us.
On September 11th, 1850.
I'm pretty
whatever.
sure you might have been involved in some way. I'm just
well.
going to say
I fired the first shot. So, all right. Well, thanks, Uncle Doug. That was gruesome.
that was terrible. Happy 9/11, everybody.
Yes, enjoy.
Let's move on.
Well, friends, that is it for this week's show.
Hey, we'd love to hear from you guys. Send us an email, howto@howtoheretic.com.
Or if you're a child survivor of the Mountain Meadows Massacre, leave us a voicemail at 903-88-HOW-TO, which is 903-884-6986. You can also hit us up on Twitter at HowToHeretic or on Facebook. And don't forget, 5-star reviews everywhere you can.
Yes. Hey, thanks again to our patrons. You're the best people on the earth.
Thanks to Cody Layton for editing the show.
And thank all of you for tuning in.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, motherfucker.